There's a thing I read once about how dance music can trigger dopamine centers in your brain because it triggers the reward center. Like when you think a drop is coming and it
Mm.
comes like you think that it did, you get that little dopamine hit that's like, oh, I
Mm.
thought that was going to happen and it happened.
Mm.
Or the opposite, I thought that was going to happen and it didn't happen, and it kind of like messes with you. And I feel
Mm.
like that's playing with your brain like that is one of the most fun things you can do with electronic music. It's good.
Hey, I'm Graham Farmer, founder of the dance music magazine Data Transmission and Twitch partner, streaming on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 1 p.m. On this channel, we share the full interviews from my Twitch streams. But before we jump into this interview, if you can help this video get more reach by giving it a like and a comment, it'd be most appreciated. And don't forget to consider subscribing so you always get notified when we drop new interviews. Doc Brown, welcome to my stream. How you doing?
All right. What's up? How you doing?
Not bad, dude. Is it early in the morning for you? Thank you for getting up for doing this for us.
It is. It's early in the morning. It's coffee time around here, actually. So don't usually get up this early on a Monday, but for you.
Oh, yeah. Up early on a Monday. Thanks,
Here
dude.
we are. Yeah. Normally, I kind of relax a little bit on Monday mornings and kind of ease into my week. But I love listening. Monday's a day where I normally listen to a bunch of new music anyway. So this is perfect.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was great. It was actually my girlfriend's birthday, so we didn't really go out and do anything clubbing related, but we spent time celebrating her birthday, and it was a lot of fun. Did the stream on Sunday, yesterday, and saw family, friends, just had a nice time. So, getting back at it today. It's like I feel like the post ADE 3 Points was here in Miami, Groove Cruise, Halloween, and everybody's about to go into out of office for holiday mode. So all the work needs to get done like this week. Yeah.
Did you go to ADE? Did you have a good time?
No, I was actually on Groove Cruise. Went out of LA, went down to Cabo San Lucas. So that was a ton of fun. Groove Cruise is always amazing. Good to hang out with a bunch of artists. Had a label party, which was really great. And yeah, I love Groove Cruise, but it was the exact same weekend as ADE. So hopefully next year.
Oh man, yeah, AD was good, but yeah, I agree with you. Like, I feel like November is the month you get loads of shit done. Like, I think I put a tweet up the other day where it's like, there's not much kind of, there's no Ibiza and there's no festivals. And it's kind of like you can get hold of people a lot easier and you can get stuff done before that kind of Christmas period where the whole world just shuts down, or dance music shuts down.
We got Thanksgiving here, so you got to get it in before Thanksgiving, because once that Thanksgiving like turkey hits, everybody's kind of done until January 1st.
That's it. So, what's happening? How's the label? How's the label been this year? I know we've been kind of premiere load for you, but
yeah, label's been doing amazing. I mean, it's been my favorite creative project that I've ever done, because it's an extension of myself and the music that I like, and it's also, I've been really loving working with a lot of like newer artists and kind of helping guide them along, teaching them about publishing, sound recording, how to get themselves set up with a publisher, admin, sound exchange, do all the stuff that you need to do when you're first starting out, and set themselves up for success going forward, because there's a lot of bad or misinformation out there. And so it's been a lot of fun to kind of like get music from people who are relatively unknown, put it in the hands of big DJs and big publications, and kind of help people out. So it's been really dope. We're doing label parties now. Did 2 on Groove Cruise. There's going to be ones coming up, San Diego, Toronto, and yeah, it keeps me very busy. But it's, like I said, it's been my favorite creative project that I have done. So.
That's good. You're teaching them about publishing, because I tell loads of all of mine about, make sure, like, big part of my courses on publishing, because it's just that overlooked thing a lot of the time. And so
yeah,
important.
I think when you're first starting out, it seems like a lot of work for almost nothing, because there's not a lot of pennies there to collect. But you start doing it 5 years, 10 years, longer. The catalog builds up, everything starts to build up. It's also important to be aware of what you're signing away when you sign a contract to another record label as well. Take a look at what are they taking your publishing? Are they not? Are you responsible for collecting that? Are they responsible for collecting it? If they are, making sure that it's in the royalty reports, all that kind of stuff is just really important. And a lot of younger artists, I think, get taken advantage of by some labels, where they're just so excited to get the music out that they just will sign whatever, and then they realize later, like, oh, even if the song does really well, like I'm not going to see what I thought I was going to from that.
Yeah, agreed. And also, like, if you start getting those big plays, like we had a couple of the weekend where an artist had already sought his publisher out before the release even happened, and like those big plays in front of thousands of people, that's collected royalties at the end of the day,
Yeah, I mean, just one placement on something here in the States, like Sirius XM or one of the satellite radio stations, can net you some decent money, both on publishing, sound exchange, neighboring rights, all that kind of stuff, depending. So where it gets played, and how big the audience is. So
that's cool. Okay, today we're going to listen to demos. I'm excited about this. What are you looking for? Because somebody asked, is it just tech house? Are you going house music? What are you signing at the moment? What are you looking for as a label? And what do you look for generally?
Yeah, basically, I would just say that what I look for is if I would play it, I would sign it. Is sort of what I tell everybody. It doesn't matter. You got 100 followers, you got 100,000 followers. I don't really care about that. If it's good music, the label has the systems in place to be able to put that music in front of people, whether that's through DJ campaigns or PR campaigns or like whatever it is. So as long as the music's good and it connects with me, same way I feel about the music that I make, then we're going to be good to go. And then I sign it. So, I mean, that's what I tell people all the time. If I play it, I'd sign it. Pretty simple.
Okay. Wicked. All right. Should we play some and then we can chat some more about things like Twitch and should we start some music and then we can chat some more as we go along?
Yes, sure. Which one are we going to listen to first?
So we start with Harvest. Let's go for it. Let's jump back in.
All right. Hear me good?
Yeah, we're good. Good. What did you think of that one? Well,
yeah, I was going to say Harvest he's a big member of the kind of like UnLearn community. He's pretty heavy in the Discord and the streams and all that kind of stuff. He's been sending in music for a bit, and I know we're going to find the right thing with him. As we were just discussing while the music was playing, I feel like sometimes the hardest part about tech house or even sort of underground styles of music is that coming up with like a kind of like loop or a thing that like works in the club sometimes is the easier part than finding the hook, which can be a vocal thing, it could be a synthesizer thing. Sometimes it's just one word, right? I mean, with some of these underground tracks, and finding the thing that's like the way that it was explained to me one time by somebody was, what's the thing that people are going to remember when they leave the club? When they're in the shower the next day and they go, oh, that track that like went like this, but or had that word or had those words. This version that I've heard a previous version of this that Harvest had sent me. This one sounds a lot better in terms of the drums and the overall mix and the bass line. I also like those like little kind of like spooky keys that are going on there in the middle. I do think the vocal sounds a little bit like a track that we had previously released on the label with the sort of repeating pattern of words. So I'm not sure if that's like the right hook for what I'm looking for, but the overall sound of the track is pretty dope. But yeah, it's the hardest part. Is what I struggle with, honestly, more than anything. And part of the problem is you have to have that hook in mind while you're in the middle of writing the track. Because sometimes when you're done with the track and you go back and then you're like, okay, now I need a hook. It's like, it's already done, right? You're not in the moment anymore. And then you're just trying to find something to slap on top of it that might not necessarily fit that well. So I feel like it's the thing that I struggle with the most. I think it's the thing that a lot of underground tech house producers, techno producers struggle with, is being able to balance that act of kind of having an underground feel and not being too overbearing or sort of poppy or commercial sounding, but still have a hook. So yeah, I mean, I dig the track. I think the particular vocal on this one isn't exactly right. But I like I said, I know we're gonna find it. I'm gonna find a track with Harvest that's gonna work at some point. His production skills. He started sending me stuff probably about a year and a half or 2 years ago, and for where he's at now to where he was at a year and a half or 2 years ago is like it's like night and day. I mean, the stuff that he's sending now is just of a much. It's of commercial quality. I mean, it's good. So it's just a question of finding the right track. So.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. He's been in our streams for a while as well. So, and submitting stuff. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely improved so much.
I mean, you put the time in, that's what happens, right? I mean, the more time that you put in, the better you get, and that there's no shortcut for that. I mean, the truth of the matter is everybody wants to open up their DAW and make some banging track when they sit down and do it, but you have to make like a lot of bad music before you start making stuff that gets better and better and better. That's just the way it is. I mean, there's no shortcut there. So.
Agreed. Right. Okay. Next one, Sam Lucas. There we go. Holy crap, that was good.
All right, yeah, I gotta say that the track underneath is quite good. I like it well, and it's mixed very well. I like the vocal. The vocal in its entirety might be maybe like a little bit too commercial for what I'm looking with the label. The little snippets and how they ring out, and that little unsynced LFO or the sort of like untimed loop, little sort of spray pattern on the drop is super dope. I kind of heard some things maybe there as it kicked into the breakdowns where the timing kind of felt like it was lost a little bit and picked up, and this I feel like the snare roll at that build as it went up instead of sort of fading out maybe could have built up heavier and done a quick drop out to the drop before the drop. That the track underneath is like super good. I mean, that's sort of like the sound that I'm definitely going for with the label, with that sort of like rolling sound and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think maybe the vocal on that one during the breakdown in its entirety a little too commercial. Like maybe like I would dig like a dub version or something like that. I'm not sure. I bookmarked that one to come back and listen to later. The track underneath is like really good, I think. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's give that the rate. So, Joe, as you know, I don't know if you know, Doc. We have two things. We have the rave horn for the ones we like, and we have the Hulk for the absolute smashers. So I feel we'll give it the rave horn.
Yeah, we'll give that one the rave horn. Oh, and then the other question that I always ask, I saw it in the chat, is usually when I get a demo with a vocal, especially one that sounds really well produced, I say, where did that vocal come from? And I'm always curious to know if it's a splice vocal or if it came from somewhere a bit obscure or if it came from somewhere maybe a bit more illegal. Maybe we might have to have a resing or something like that. So yeah, I'm curious where the vocal came from as well.
I think it's vocalist
it's an original vocal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super dope. Every producer who's out there that's watching this should know that's the way you want to go. Get an idea, find a friend, find someone you know that's a vocalist, and do it that way. And then you know from the beginning it's all original. You don't have to worry about any publishing issues, sample clearances, any of that kind of stuff. The vocals really nice. Like I said, I think in its entirety maybe a little bit too commercial for the stuff I'm looking for the label, but yeah, pretty dope track. I'll bookmark it. I'll come back to it.
Oh, you met her at BMC. Sam said he met her at BMC at Brighton Music Conference. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say don't use splice vocals. That's not exactly what I would say. You can use splice vocals, but just like using any sample pack or any sort of anything, you definitely don't want to just like look for something that's 128 beats per minute and take the most popular one and just drop it into your track, right? Because you're going to make a track and you're going to think it's so dope and you're going to be shopping it to these labels, and then you're going to check the new releases on Beatport and there's going to be like 5 tracks that all have the exact same vocals made by producers that are much more popular than you are, with probably much more skills than you or I have. And it's just, then when yours finally comes out, they're going to be like, oh, or whatever, so be creative, look in the sections that aren't necessarily in house BPMs and speed them up or slow them down, or because I've heard and signed tracks that have splice vocals where they're splice vocals, but it's something that I've never heard on any track or ever before. And I mean, granted, I can't listen to every single track of the world out there, but so it's not don't use splice vocals, but I would say finding an original vocalist is better than using splice vocals if you have the ability to do that.
Camo Alba.
All right.
Waiting for Her.
Go. That was interesting. I enjoyed that.
All right. Yeah, there's quite a. So when I'm listening to demos, there's always 2 things I'm listening for, right? Number one is what's kind of like the song idea underneath, which could involve the hook, like we were talking about before, and then like what's the overall kind of like sound quality of the track. This one has some very interesting melodic ideas going on in it. I think arrangement wise, it's really cool with the lead synth that goes there. I think that the plucky lead that someone mentioned had those rebuke kind of like rolls to them. Maybe could be like developed a little bit more. Like sometimes for leads like that, I like to use a plugin called Crystallizer, or maybe some sort of like slight delay where it gives it makes it sort of like pop out off the track a little bit by having a little bit of atmosphere surrounding it instead of being so static. I think some of the synth patches maybe could use a little bit more sort of development. Like maybe they sound a little kind of like stock, or they could probably use a little bit of that too. A little bit of sort of like making it into something sort of like bigger than it is. I think the track itself, the writing of the song with the melody and the bass line and those pads and everything is pretty dope. To be honest with you, I think that if I perhaps heard another version with some sort of maybe some subtle changes to the synth patches themselves, and that could be something that's pretty cool. The melodic ideas in there are very interesting, which is something that you don't hear too often with tech house demos. A lot of them are pretty straightforward. So there's some good songwriting going on in there that I can hear underneath all of that. Production wise, I think maybe could be, kind of be polished a little bit more. But some of those things are things that, to be honest with you, if I hear a good demo with a good idea, I can work with somebody on A&Ring it and getting it to be where I want it to be. The ideas are harder to come by, I think, than a good sounding production sometimes. The thing that you remember when you go out to the club, and that had some very interesting melodic ideas. I wasn't paying attention exactly to how the chord progression went, but it seemed like it had some sort of like diatonic substitution and some sort of creepy sounding intervals, which I'm really into. So it's pretty dope.
That's cool. Yeah. Well done, Camo. Great start. Cool. MXL. great.
Yeah, very ravey. I love the old school ravey stuff. I feel like is the is the vocal from like an actual '90s track? I feel like there's a '90s track like that maybe used that vocal back in the day. And then I'd be curious where it came from. If it was something that was specific to that song, if it would have to be licensed or something like that. That's a banger. I really like it. I love the bass line. I love the rave stabs. Maybe in the section in the middle, the rave stabs could kind of like get a little more, do something crazy, and then kind of come back to where it was, or in a breakdown or something like that. I mean, that might deserve more than the rave horn. That might get a Hulk.
You want a Hulk? Okay, you can have a Hulk. You can have a Hulk.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that was definitely a banger. So yeah, I mean that could be something I'd be interested in signing. Obviously, we need to look at the finer details of like where the vocal came from and all that kind of stuff. But that's definitely pretty dope. Yeah, like I saw in the chat, that '90s rave stuff is coming back hard, both in house and techno. And I love that stuff. I mean, that's kind of when I first started getting into dance music. That's super ravey stuff, and all the Hoover synths and the stabs and the like. That extended drop was really nice. I like unexpected. You know, I feel like dance music is about toying with people's like. There's a thing I read once about how dance music can trigger dopamine centers in your brain because it triggers the reward center. Like when you think a drop is coming and it comes like you think that it did, you get that little dopamine hit that's like, oh, I thought that was going to happen and it happened. Or the opposite, I thought that was going to happen and it didn't happen, and it kind of like messes with you. And I feel like that's playing with your brain like that is one of the most fun things you can do with electronic music. It's good. Good tune.
Yeah, I agree. I like that little extended break. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved it. Great track.
Yeah.
Dig
it.
Talking of tracks, you've got a new EP out this week. I'm premiering your remix this week, aren't I?
Oh yeah, nice, dope. Yeah, we got 2 remixes coming out. It was I've been we're into the 3rd year of the label now, and so sort of picked out a handful of tracks. So this is the second one. We did a remix package for One Day, which was the track I did with Lizzie like way back, like a year and a half or 2 years ago. And then so last year the biggest track on the label was MC Flipside and Preston Zane's Late Night Disco. So we did a remix package with that. So we got a new Vanilla Ace and Venky remix, which is kind of like a more sort of like big room tech house type vibe. And then my remix on the B side, which is sort of a little more darker styled, kind of like techno vibes. No snares on the 2 and the 4. I had a funny interaction with a techno DJ one time, and they were talking about playing techno, and they were talking about how they might have to dial it back from what they were playing based on the show itself, and maybe play some more like stuff that was kind of veering more in the tech house realm, but still techno. And then, but he's like, I'm going to play some stuff with some claps and some snares, so you're going to have to count them more than one. Because techno DJs are just like ba 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 ba. It doesn't matter. I mean, they'll mix the track in on the 2, the 3, or the 4. It doesn't matter, and it can kind of create interesting textures and whatever. But if you're mixing something that has claps and snares, you gotta count to at least 2.
Yeah.
So.
Man, the techno stuff
that'll be out.
Super great.
That'll be out on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're premiering in midweek. I think more tomorrow, maybe Wednesday.
Very excited about that one. That was a huge track for the label. It had the original, and then there was a remix by K-Mac, and both tracks just did really, really, really well. Obviously, MC Flipside's vocals are great and carried the track, and Preston Zane did a great job with the original. So very happy to be doing the remixes, and both of them I'm pretty psyched about. So.
Yeah, I loved both of them. I listened to both, and I said to Greg, I don't either. I don't mind which either. I like both. I can't pick whichever you like. I don't mind.
Yeah, and they both fit. They're both for two completely different types of sets as well. So it's not like you're like picking one or the other. There's like
agreed. And then Twitch. Let's talk about Twitch. You're still streaming on Twitch.
Still streaming on Twitch. Yep.
And we sometimes catch you on the we sometimes catch each other on the raid on Fridays, depending on who's starting first.
Trading back and forth. Who can get off Twitch fastest?
Yeah, it is. It is. It totally is. We're like,
beat him.
we're like, shit. We're finishing. He's still there. Let's go.
Yeah,
And
I think we end right around the same time. And so if someone raids in, obviously I'm not going to like shut off the stream right away when someone raids in. So I'll play a little bit extra usually when that happens, or vice versa, right? So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We go on a little bit longer, and it's always that. Like, can we make him raid a bit longer? Can we make him play a bit longer?
Yeah, so we do Friday mornings, Wednesday nights. I do kind of like darker stuff, like techno and progressive and more deeper sometimes stuff. And then Sundays, just the big shows, kind of like whatever. Play all kinds of different stuff. Like, I mean, it's basically a carryover from the 12-hour streams I was doing during the pandemic, where it could be house, it could be disco, it could be techno, it could be progressive, it could be deep stuff, it could be like whatever, just whatever music I'm digging. So
That's
Sunday's
cool.
a big fun show.
How long do you stream on Sundays? When do you stream?
Now I'm doing it for 5 hours. 5 hours on Sunday. So from in Miami time, it's 3 to 8 p.m.
Wow.
And last night we got a big raid right at the end, so we ended up going a little longer. It was my girlfriend's birthday. We were drinking some shots and having some fun. So
so really up early on a Monday morning then for you.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, usually it's 5 hours, 3 to 8 on Sundays is the main show. And
That's
I might
very
be
cool.
toying with the schedule a little bit coming up. We'll see. Kind of looking at different nights and different things to do things. Sunday is going to remain unchanged, but maybe mixing up something different during the midweek. Maybe trying to do some production streams or something. I mean, I'm not sure. We're looking at some different things that we can do. Interesting things that we can do with Twitch coming up. So, I mean, still very much a big part of my repertoire.
And you're still enjoying it? Still part of
it's just like we were discussing right before the chat. It's kind of like a no-brainer for me. I mean, it's interacting. It's being able to test out new music, both either from myself or just practicing DJing, and it's fun. So like, I mean, I would be sitting back there practicing for 5 or 6 hours sometimes anyway. So why not do it with the camera on and have some fun with people, right? And like I said, I mean, it's not quite anything near what the heyday was about a year and a half ago in terms of viewership or income. Speaking as someone who's a full-time musician and does plenty of side gigs and whatever to make money, this is a side gig is much, 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 much better than some of the other side gigs that are out there, especially with the non-music related ones.
Oh man, I bet. Cool, yeah, because we were talking before about people jumping off to YouTube and going off to YouTube, especially as YouTube's going to become a beast next year.
I've heard a lot of people talking about streaming on YouTube, and the YouTube Shorts. The new thing with the YouTube Shorts apparently is going to be a pretty big thing. So
it is, or it already is. It's
hard to keep track, but you got to keep up on it. New social media platform every day.
Right, should we carry on? DJ Chavez. Sorry, Chavez. There we go. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's quite good. I mein, living here in Miami, that sounds like I would go out to 1-800-LUCKY on a Sunday, listening to Coco Drills, or on a Monday, Oscar G at Coyo Taco. That's like right there in line with that. I like the cowbells. The arrangement's really nice. I mean, I see that. I mean, so having nothing to do with the track or the producer, I made a conscious decision with myself and my branding that translates into the label, is that because I'm from Miami, but I have no Latin heritage whatsoever. To sort of maybe kind of stay away from playing too much of that stuff, just because I might get a little side eye from people here in Miami. So in terms of branding for myself and the label, I kind of tend to stay away from playing and signing some of that stuff. But that's a really super nice track. I could see a lot of labels being interested in that. You know, if whoever's in the chat or whatever, I could probably connect them with some people that would definitely be down to sign it. So that's a really lovely track. I mean, it's the type of thing you would definitely hear people playing the what out of here in Miami, I would say.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, he's there. Chavez is there. Wicked. He says thanks. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Send me a message or a whisper or something. I can probably connect you with some people that would definitely be interested in that track, because it's pretty. It's very nicely, like I said, nicely produced, nicely arranged. Has that perfect sort of like outdoor kind of Miami vibe to it. Like, I mean, if I walked into a place and a track like that was playing, I'd be like, okay, yeah, here we go. It's gonna be a good night. Let's get a drink. Let's go. It's good.
Let's get some shots.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give it the rave one. Let's do it. Yeah, gang, you call for it. I'll give it the rave one. I agree. I was grooving along to it. I was like, I'm well into this. Sitting here, and I was like, shit, I'm streaming. I need to think myself.
But yeah, it's that sort of Miami Ibiza kind of like.
Yeah.
You can hear the ocean in the background. Like,
cocktail in your hand, and you're away.
And I mean, that's part of music, right? It's sort of like painting that picture. Like, I remember reading some things from big producers a long time ago about saying when they, sit down to write a track, sometimes they have something like that in mind. Like, I have a very specific vision in my head of where this track should be played and when, and I'm going to play towards that as I'm writing it. Like that track has that. It has the vibe. You're like, exactly when would be the right time to play that. It's really quite good.
Yeah, I've interviewed people that said that as well. Some people have said, like, I've made a track for Circo Loco, or I made a track for Gashouder in Amsterdam, and it was designed for that place, and I was going to get it signed to a label that who's always in there, and that was my goal with it, But I agree with the beach. Yeah, Sam Lucas said I'd spin that for sure. A couple of clubs I play in a smaller vibe. Someone else said said they'd play it as well, which is Bergwall said he'd play it. Yeah, I was fully loving it.
Yeah, down BPM Festival, Costa Rica. Like, I could see a lot of different. I mean, that style of house music plays well in a lot of places. I mean, house music goes over really well in beaches and it just does. So, I mean, it's definitely got that vibe. It's a really good track.
Wicked. Cool. Well, let's see if we can get that connected and get that signed. That'd be well sick. Bergwall and Pops. What a name, Pops. That's a cool name. Let's play this. That was cool.
Pretty nicely produced track right there. So I would say with this track, it would be, if this was sent into the label as a demo, this would be one that I'd probably respond to and see if they were open to some A&R notes and kind of maybe doing a couple of things. I think overall the track idea is pretty good. I like the groove of it, and I like the kind of like chanting, kind of like sing-songy vocal. I think the vocal could maybe use a little bit more girth, because it's all filtered up. It does sound a little bit thin, and you could either maybe change the filtering, or maybe put a second layer of it pitched down, maybe 3, 4, 5 semitones, something like that. Or like, where it chants along, like kind of like maybe kind of play on that a little bit.
Nice.
To kind of like change it up, the little synths in the breakdown where everything cuts out, maybe put some kind of like reverbs or delays on them to kind of like give it a little more spaciness and trippiness during that part. Overall, I think that the track idea is pretty good. So yeah, I mean, for a demo like that, that's kind of something. What I would say about that is if they were open to some sort of A&R notes to kind of, work on a couple things, maybe we could get it to a point where it is something that's good to go. I mean, I think that a lot of the basic ideas are there, and it's mixed nicely, sounds pretty good. Just maybe just taking it to that next level and like, really kind of like I see in the chat, release the tiger. Yeah, release the tiger. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I've said that to some. We said that last year. In fact, it was Harvest last year with Harvest. We were like, these are cool. We just need to, you're pushing something, and then just let it happen and release that tiger a little bit more.
It's hard. You know what I mean? And then sometimes you get so on an idea. I get this way sometimes, and when you ask for feedback and someone says, oh, well, maybe you could do this or maybe you could do that. And you're like, oh, but no, I don't really want to do that. But do I want to do that? Or are you calling out something that intrinsically I know underneath is something that needs to change? I just was maybe feeling like maybe more lazy and didn't want to or thought it was good enough like that. And now you're kind of pointing out something that I knew underneath was true all along. And to go back and put the work in and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that kind of stuff happens to me all the time. So, but pretty dope idea there.
Yeah, they said, Burgwell's there. Yeah, we're interested if you're interested. Yeah, good. We're open to making changes if you're interested.
Cool. Yeah, send me a DM and I'll grab and download the track, and we could kind of work on a couple ideas that could maybe turn that into something.
Amazing. This is great. Yeah. 2 good ones already. Wicked. From our regulars as well. Great.
I mean, it goes to show you. I mean, the level of quality of all the demos we've listened to so far is very high. And I think it's really important to keep in mind, like even myself included, when we're sending demos off to labels and people are listening to them, just to keep in mind that the volume and the quality of demos that labels are receiving now is higher than ever. And not to be discouraged if a label says, oh, this track isn't for me, or like whatever. There could be a million simple things. Now, someone like me, I'm willing to take an idea and work with someone and kind of A&R a track. For a label that's receiving hundreds of demo submissions every week, that's just not in their purview, right? So just one little thing like, oh, during the breakdown, there was a dropout. We would have preferred the snare roll to go through. And they're just like, okay, on to the next, right? Like, you know what I mean? So, it's something to keep in mind and not really get discouraged when you're not getting track signed or like whatever either, because it doesn't necessarily mean that the track is bad or that there's just a lot of really good music out there and a lot of good producers, as evidenced even just by this demo stream right here.
Yeah, exactly. We had one. I was working with somebody and it's literally taken us 5 months and we even spoke to the label manager at a party and they were like, oh, you have to keep pushing me. You have to keep literally keep emailing me because tracks definitely slip under the radar the way I'm getting so many emails. It's a big label and they're like, we're getting so many sent to us. If you don't keep hammering me to see if it's happening, then it just doesn't happen. And we're like, whoa, okay.
And at some point with the big labels, just submitting via a demo box or whatever is just almost kind of like shouting into the void. You got to build up your personal contacts and be able to, sometimes have personal connections with those people that are working at those bigger labels just to get your stuff heard in a fashion that is being taken seriously where they might actually consider signing it. So having good music is important. Networking is important too, as you well know.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Who's next? Juan Ramirez. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I'm seeing some of the things in the chat about the mix. I think I would agree there. For me, mixing starts with the drums. I think the hi-hats are probably a little too loud in the mix here. And typically a loud hi-hat in your mix, if you're new to mixing, sometimes you don't hear it and it can really screw up your drum mix a little bit. Typically the way that I would start when I'm mixing the drums is I would come up with the idea first, right? And then I would strip all the drums away except for just the kick drum, and then get that just working with the bass and making sure that that's mixed properly, and then slowly add on the layers on top of the drums and remix them into the track. I would use a drum bus. I don't know how familiar this particular artist is with mixing drums, but I would use a drum bus and start with just a simple glue compressor on there to kind of like gel the drums together a little bit. And then you could get into some more advanced mixing techniques from there. But I think that an overall balancing of the drum mix with the bass could go a long way towards making this particular one sound a little better. And the little sort of like pitching kind of thing that goes on is actually kind of cool. The tuning of it, I'm not really that as concerned about. It doesn't feel to me like it's a lead. It feels to me like it's more like could be like percussion texture, like a texture that kind of faded into the background a little bit, and then find what the real lead is. I don't know if it's the vocal bits that are in there. So some of the chords are kind of nice, but maybe could like use a little bit of work. It's got a good overall groove to it, and the bass line itself is pretty good. Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, mixing is one of those things like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, right? You're going to have to make 50 tracks or 100 tracks where the mix doesn't sound good until you start hearing those types of things yourself and being able to just fix them automatically. And the truth of the matter is even myself, if I like 10 years from now, if I'm listening to mixes that I'm doing right now, I'm going to pick them apart, right? Because you just keep every song you do, your ears get more and more in tune. One person one time described it to me as the curse, because it means that you can't ever really listen to music again and not start thinking like that again, right? Like, oh, well, you know, the drum mix on this track could use a little, or like whatever, even from stuff you hear on the radio, commercially released, whatever. So, but it happens when you just put in a lot of work. You eventually get to the point where, like, I can remember being a child actually and listening to music before I started playing an instrument. And when I listened to music, it was just like a wave of music that crashed over me, just like a wall of everything. It was just the song, right? And then as soon as I started playing an instrument, it was like, oh, that's what the guitar is doing. That's what the bass guitar is doing. That's what the drums are doing. And everything became separated for me. And I could never go back to hearing music like I did before, where everything was just one wash of music. To me now, whenever I listen to music, all I can hear are the different lines. So it's just a different kind of thing that happens to your brain when you start doing these types of things. And it's the same thing that happens with mixing as well. Like, you just get better and better at it, and you start to hear things pop out at you that you wouldn't otherwise have a year ago or 5 years ago or whatever. So, but
yeah, as I was saying to you on that when we were just the groove on that was great. I was enjoying it, but it just seemed it was mixing things were in the wrong places from a listening point of view. It was,
yeah, I was curious. So one of the things that stuck out at me was the hi-hat. I think was a little too loud, and in general, I've found that if you have a hi-hat that's poking out, that's too loud, it screws up your whole mix, because it screws up your drum mix, and it's in the top end of the frequency range, so it starts messing with different leads and vocals that you're mixing, because then you're trying to mix that in over the hi-hat that's already too loud, and like. And it's something that, because it's such a short duration of time, usually like a closed hi-hat or something like that, that if it's mixed too loud and your ears aren't in tune, it's harder to pick up on than, let's say, like a kick that's just like slamming so hard, right? So it's definitely a harder thing to pick up on, and it can definitely throw the mix out of whack a little bit. So.
Cool. Okay. Next up, Alez. Right, there we go. I enjoyed that.
All right,
That was
that's a
enjoyable.
groover. Yeah, good bass line, nice drums. I think I saw a mention in the chat. Yeah, what we're kind of going back to a little bit about what we were talking earlier, like in terms of a hook, like yeah, maybe some vocal chops or some sort. Like I said, sometimes it's just like one word before the drop that's just like bass or like it's like the stupidest thing
Yeah,
in the
definitely the
world, but
hook.
it ends up being the thing that carries the track. There's something going on with the volume automation and the bass. I don't know if it was just listening over Discord or whatever, where it felt like the bass was going away with volume and coming back, and maybe that could be done better with like a filter where you can kind of still hear what's going on in the top line of the bass instead of having it disappear. Overall, the drums and the bass and the synth, good groove, maybe a little bit more atmospherics on those synths, like we were talking about earlier. Like I said, I like to use different delays, but I love the Sound Toy stuff, the Echo Boy and Crystallizer is a crazy awesome tool for creating texture. But I mean, not really anything bad to say about it at all, to be honest with you. Maybe you could use a hook, but it's got super groove and it's kind of like right in line with stuff that I'm looking for the label. So it's pretty dope track.
Yeah, agreed. I enjoyed it. I was grooving along to it. I just, could do with some extra little something, or like someone was saying, a vocal hook, or agreed.
Yeah, like I said, whatever it was that somebody told me a long time ago about the like, what is the thing you remember after you leave the club? That's just stuck with me for forever. So whenever I sit down and try to write a song, or whenever I'm in the midst of writing a song, it always like pops in my head, which is like, yeah, this is great. Like I see myself really, rocking out to this in the club. But if I left the club, would I remember it, or would it just be another track that was part of the DJ set that you're just like, it was good? And I try to keep that in mind. I mean, the hook is the hardest part. For me, it's the hardest part. I guess for some people, it's probably the easier part. But for me personally, it's the thing I have to work on the most is finding the right sort of hooks and ideas that carry that to a track.
Oh, cool! He's here. Alex is here. Wicked. Sorry, 8th and all. I think we've got loads, but we listen to demos every Monday now. So this week we've got Doc joining us. So thanks for doing this, mate. This has been great fun so far.
Yeah. No problem. And if anybody ever wants to send any demos just for the label, not on a Twitch listening stream, it's just demos at unlearnrec.com. And listen to everything, respond to everything. Everything I'm trying to do with the label is like all my experiences with labels in the past, just trying to do things the way that I wish labels worked with me, right? So I'm not at the point where I'm getting 700 demos a week. So for now, at least, I can still listen and respond to everyone. I like to try to be as artist friendly as possible with the label. So
that's cool. Cool. Jason is next. Hey, Jason. I know he's here. Wicked.
Our lies, eyes wide. Our lies, our lies. Over here we got our lipstick on. We lick our lips like love, leaving our eyes wide. We rub glitter deep into our skin. Don't know how long it's been since you caught our lies. Over here we got our lipstick on. We lick our lips like love, leaving our eyes wide. We rub glitter deep into our skin. Don't know how long it's been since you caught our lies. Here, our lies. Here, eyes wide. Here, our lies. Here, eyes wide. Here, our lies.
There we go.
all right, yeah. I mean, so going back to what we were saying before, this one has the hook, right? I mean, it's got the vocal.
Yeah.
It's one of those vocals where I'm not sure if I like it yet, but it is definitely catchy. The way that it was processed in the middle by having the two different lines and one having been pitched down a little bit, I think it could probably use that throughout. I'm not sure about the way that it was chopped up in the build leading up to the main drop. There's probably a different way perhaps that could be arranged or done. There's a lot of good ideas here. The bass line is cool. I saw some mentions of the hat in the chat. Yeah, I think the hat is probably a little too loud and maybe a little too thin. Could maybe use a different sample or maybe a different layer underneath. And I think there was one more note that I was going to say, which I forgot what it was at this point. But there's a lot of good ideas there. I mean, this would probably be a demo that if it came into the Unlearn box, I'd see if the artist was willing to work on a couple things. Like I said, there's good ideas there, and it has the hook. And
I really
like
the vocal. It was really cool.
Yeah. And I think it could probably just use maybe just like a little bit of work to kind of like make it really stand out and be, whatever, unleash the, what was it earlier? Unleash the,
Release the tiger.
Release the tiger. There you go. There's another one.
See, it works.
But yeah. So, but it's cool. I mean, like I said, hook, hardest part. And that's the other thing I would say. I always typically ask, like, where's the vocal from? Where did it come from? Like, am I going to hear 18 tracks with this vocal later, or is it more original, or is it a friend of yours or something like that? Because that type of stuff is, you just go instantly like, okay, be like, yes, I would definitely sign that. But yeah, I mean, this is in line. I mean, I feel like it's something that could be worked with to perhaps work for the label. Like I said, it needs a little bit of work, but there's some good ideas there. And sometimes the idea is more important than the actual finished product itself, at least for where I'm at with the label right now. So, I'm looking for the good ideas.
Yeah, vocal had a kind of. Do you remember the band called New Young Pony Club? I thought.
Yeah, I can give you what you like.
Yeah,
Ice Cream. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's a good track.
We have the where's the vocalist from, because one of our regulars, Mario, he always used to come and ask where the vocalist. So now we actually made a command in our chat that is command Mario, and it says who's the vocalist.
Okay, yeah, good point right there. AI taking down tracks with splice vocals. I mean, the issue is let's say a very big popular artist that's signed to Atlantic Records uses a splice vocal. Well, their copyright ID system is going to take down any track that uses that splice vocal, even though that splice vocal can be used legally on any other track. It's something to consider when you're using splice vocals, actually. And it's not, and like I said, yeah, it's not that I don't want to discourage people from using splice, because it's actually a great tool. I mean, I don't personally use it, but there's a lot of great samples in there. But just like with anything, I mean, are you going to play the Beatport Top 100, or are you going to dig and find the tracks that are really good that are your sound to build the set? And it's the same thing with the way that you pick out samples for what you're doing when you produce as well. So
yeah, Mario's got a point. Deep End did do fine. that was a splice vocal.
Yeah, but now if anybody tries to use that splice vocal, I guarantee it's getting a takedown notice.
I bet. Interesting. Savisto. This is going to be groovy as. This guy's been making some great music. You'll enjoy this. Let's play this.
All right.
There we go. That was groovy.
Yeah, a lot of cool elements in there. I like that little sort of like bubbly sound that's underneath the percussion there. Reminds me of kind of like a mind shake kind of Paco Asuna burr kind of sound there that I like. I think maybe it is suffering a little bit from the sort of like lack of a hook thing. And another thing that this is just my personal preference that I try to do with bass lines that are like that is that put a little bit of low pass filter on it and kind of like start maybe more closed, open it up, close it down a little bit, give that bass line like a little bit more motion throughout the track to give it a little bit of more dynamic sort of quality. I think in the breakdown, maybe starting with that sort of more plucky sound and then bringing the chords in underneath rather than starting with the chords, I think arrangement wise would have been cool in the breakdown. There's a lot of really cool elements in there, and especially towards the later end of the track. And then it kind of feels like that a couple things are being thrown at you. And maybe some of those ideas could have been introduced from an arrangement perspective earlier in the track so that when they all come at you at the end, you're kind of already built up to expecting it. I can tell a lot of care was taken in producing the track. That's not something that's just ripping off samples and dropping it in. It was it was written and someone put a lot of work into it. So it's a pretty dope track. I think it probably needs a little bit of work to kind of just make it a little bit more dynamic, but a lot of good elements in there. And then again, looking for that hook thing. It seems to be the elusive thing with underground dance music.
Agreed. Let's do another one. Cuts. Have you got some cuts?
You ain't heard it from me, got it from me. You don't want to see me with the hitters.
That's interesting.
All right. Yeah, like I said, I saw some people in the chat saying there's some good ideas in there. There are. But my personal preference, this doesn't have anything to do with the track or anything, but I don't typically gravitate towards those more, garage sounding vocals. I gotta say it like you guys say it. Yeah, there's a lot of, feel like the breakdown where it goes to the strings, I got a little bit lost there. I did see some people saying they had heard the vocal before, which we're going back to that splice thing. But to be honest, it can be an easy fix as a producer if you like the cadence of the vocal that you're using, but then someone tells you, hey, this is on like 8 other tracks, and why not just take the cadence of that vocal and write some new lyrics and have somebody or yourself record them. If you don't like your own voice, pitch it down. Find a friend who's got a sexy voice or like whatever. And then you're not actually really messing with the track too much at all. You're actually just swapping out the vocal for something that's basically exactly the same, but it's original. I think it maybe could benefit from something like that. I don't know. Like I said, I got a little lost in the strings breakdown. I like the bass line. I like the drums. I like the part where the second synth came over the bass line. So there's a lot of good sort of like elements and ideas in there. Again, the quality level of the tracks out there is very high. So
yeah, I agree. I quite like the garagey vocals, and I don't normally like that sort of things, but I felt it was nice.
Yeah, another option actually is AI. I just did 2 tracks with AI vocals. Where
no way.
Yeah, I have 2 new tracks. They're still demos, but we're done with AI vocals. It's definitely, I mean, you think about it, you're like, wow, I mean, this technology is coming for all of our jobs, even the vocalists, but I mean, some of the AI vocals out there are actually quite good. I mean, I used AI. If you listen to my radio show, the overhead, the call outs that sounds like a female, that was some AI that was generated like 10 or 15 years ago when I first started doing the radio show. AI now, I mean, you can change the inflection that you want on the voice, the rhythm that it says the words in, everything. I mean, it's really quite crazy how detailed you can get with the AI vocals. So even if you hate your own voice and you have no friends, you can still find a cool vocal out there or create it with AI if you want. So
I didn't know you could do that. That's very cool.
Yeah, it is very cool actually. And a little scary, but also cool.
Yeah. What site did you use your AI? Did you do your AI vocal on? That's really cool.
I'll have to look up the one that I used it on, and I can send you. I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a number of them out there. Some of them offer free, open source. You can use the rights for it. Some have some that are, some of the vocals, because you can choose like hundreds of different types of vocals, whether it's a sultry female or a rough dude sounding or like a whatever. There's
That's vocal.
Yeah, it's wild. And then some of them you can use that the rights are free to use on, and some of them are not because they have some that emulate. Like, I'm interested to see where it's going to go with the copyright technology in terms of like they have emulations of famous people's voices, right? Now, it if you want to take something that sounds like Matthew McConaughey's voice or something like that, is that infringing upon rights that Matthew McConaughey has? If the AI was generated by studying his voice, I mean, laws can't keep up with this stuff, right? It's pretty wild. But yeah,
That's
AI
crazy.
vocals are a technology that's out there that is available for producers to use if you want.
Surely he would have had to given his blessing, or at least for them to.
Well, so technically it learns how to sound like Matthew McConaughey just by listening to Matthew McConaughey, but I don't know if that actually means that he has rights to what the AI generates just from the inputted data, right? Like I mean, my first job in music was copyright. I'm huge on copyright and knowing everything, and the way that this AI is going, I'm not sure with the technology exactly how that works.
A Becky Hill vocal AI would be good. I bet it would. That would be very cool. She's smashing it right now. Yeah, robot lands in front of you and says, "Pass the kick to." No. Right. How are we doing on these? We've got 2 left. Should we do these last 2? We've got time. Yeah, 1:45. Late night.
Groover there. I feel like with like a sort of like rolling sign sub underneath what's going on there, it's like spot on like Tool Room vibes with the sort of like kind of whatever. My gut reaction is where did that vocal come from? It sounds like something that would have to be licensed. It sounds like it's like a sample from somewhere, but I'm not, without knowing for sure. I don't really know. I don't know if I love the sample. Overall, the track is pretty groovy. I like it. It's got that sort of like a without having the Latin vibes, that outdoor beachy type kind of like fun vibe. Like I said, it sounds very Tool Roomy to me, especially if it had like a super rolling sub underneath. But there's a lot of good elements in there. I'd be curious where the vocal came from.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was grooving along to it. Yeah, it does what it does.
But I like the yeah, and the bump, 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 bump. Good, nice groove to it.
He was Late Night was here. Well, I'm sure in the chat. I saw them earlier in the chat. You here, Late Night, still? Maybe they've gone off to do some work.
I'll go to watch the replay.
Yeah, I'll put it on the replay afterwards so you can catch up. Right, the last one, Max Rob. His thing doesn't actually have a look. I don't know why. I tried to copy it and paste it and it didn't have a thing. So I've moved him to a 2 secs. I've moved him to a.
There we go.
I've moved into a SoundCloud player so we can just listen.
Yeah, one thing actually before you hit play on this that I would say in general is I did scroll through a couple of these demos before we got on the stream, and in general, demo submissions, I would say everybody's obviously submitted via SoundCloud link. Make sure that SoundCloud link is private. Make sure you've hidden your stats. make sure that it looks like it's a pretty fresh upload, like within the last like week or so. Typically, I mean, I don't really care as much, but certainly other labels, if you send them to them and they see that a track, let's say, has been sitting on the internet for 4 months and has 14 plays, are much less inclined to take a look at it. Sign it. Says nothing about the music, says nothing about anything. Just people's perception sometimes can be that way. But just as a general rule, I would say that's the best way to do it. Private SoundCloud link, turn those stats off, make sure the upload is relatively fresh. I mean, I do a fresh one for every single demo I send to a label ever. So the upload date is the same as the date that I send the email. And who knows, maybe they're getting it 6 months later and I've already sent it to 10 labels, but they would never know.
Yeah, well, I always say this the same as well. And also for our demo streams, if you don't want people to download, we've had people that download them from the Discord. Make sure your download's turned off for these demo streams, because people will just go and take without asking, and then we have to go and tell them
that's
off.
That's terrible. Yeah,
downloading a track that's
probably
just
a good idea.
Yeah, we've had that before, and we're like, oh, come on, at least ask before you download it.
Yeah, right. It's like not like, I mean, if I can see who downloaded and played everything. Like we're not. I've got the pro account. I'll find you. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's in a Discord of a subzone of part of a Discord. It's like, come on, at least ask. But yeah, I hear you. It's weird. The whole like has to be 0 players and 0 time, and it's weird.
For me, if it's a good song, I don't really care, right? Like if I don't care who's passed on it. I mean, think about it like this: like if you're a DJ, think about how many songs you listen to when you're scrolling through Beatport or through your promos or whatever, versus how many you actually take and put in your bag and play. It says nothing against the quality of any of the tracks that you didn't choose to put in your bag. They just weren't for you. They're still really awesome and amazing tracks. So just because something's been passed on by a few labels doesn't mean that it's not perfect for mine, right? So exactly. I don't really think about it that way, but some people out there might just go, "Oh, this is not fresh. I will not listen." And
I know I've had it before. Oh, This Is Late Night is here. So This Is Late Night. Where was that for the last track? Where that vocal from? Can you tell us in the chat? Was it a sample, or was it a splice, or was it an original? Let us know. Right. Do you want to listen to this one? Max Robinson, Got Moves. I turned that up loads, by the way. Did you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing it's probably unmastered. There's some cool elements in the track. It's got a cool groove to it. I like the bass line and the drums, and I like the acid line. I feel like it's maybe suffering from a little bit about what we've been talking continuously throughout the show. It's sort of like a hook. Like where's what's the part that people remember after they leave the club? So I mean, I listen to the track and I go, that part, especially right there in the beginning of the breakdown, where the drums are going, the bass is going, and the acid line starts to come in. For me, I thought was my favorite part of the track. I think you could take that sort of like idea and build on that, and kind of maybe make that acid line have some nice dynamic movement throughout the track, find the right kind of hook to go over it. I think all the right elements are there to make a good track. I think the way that it feels a little underproduced and could maybe use some of that. But I mean, overall, a lot of the good elements are there, like nice drums, good bass line. And like I said, I like that little like acidy type line coming in there. Super groovy. Just needs a little bit of work, I think.
Agreed.
To turn it into something that could be, Release the Tiger? What is it? Like find the part of the track that like makes you that has you the most excited about the track, and then sort of build from there, right? Like, and then like say this is the bass part of the track, and where can we take it from here? Like maybe that little acid line goes crazy, right, and starts going like really opens up the filter, and maybe has a couple little extra notes here and there, and you can do all sorts of things. I mean, the options are endless with what you can do, and kind of like make it go from there. So, but I think there's a lot of good elements there, to be honest. So
Yeah, I love it. Definitely release the Tiger more. I can't believe that thing's coming back now. That's hilarious.
yeah, well, it makes sense. The saying it makes sense.
Yeah, that's what we were. We even made t-shirts. We were going to make t-shirts with it on as well for it, but we haven't done that yet.
There you go.
Right. Where are we on time? It's 3:00. How much are you? Do you want to listen to one more, or you want to? Because we said
I'm down
2
for
or 3.
whatever. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm cool with it. I just want to check your timing. And you said that we don't go, you'll go through them and check them anyway afterwards.
Yeah. Anything that doesn't get listened to here, if it gets dropped in there, obviously I'm in your Discord or whatever. I'll go through and listen to them and send a private SoundCloud message, respond to them in some way, let them know that it's been heard and what I thought. So even if you're just watching right now, feel free to drop a link in there. Even if we don't get to it here, I'll give it a listen.
Cool. Okay, let's play this one then. Sean Robinson. There we go. That was cool.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
I mean, I
pumped.
think probably of all the ones we've listened to, it's probably what I would say is the most polished. It has all the little details that are in there that you look for in a finished track. Like a lot of things people do with tech house these days is kind of have something different going every 4 or 8 bars, a little fill, a little synth riff that kind of just keeps everything moving forward instead of seeming so static. And it has all those nice little bits in there. The vocal itself, I think for the label might be a little too gospel-y, housey. Not that I don't play some of that type of music sometimes. I also feel like I've heard it somewhere before and I can't put my finger on it. But overall, I mean, a really solid produced track, and it has all, like I said, it's very polished, has all those. If producers take note, I mean, these are things that A&Rs are looking for in these tracks, where where how do you take that 4-bar, 8-bar, 16-bar loop and turn it into a song? You have to have arrangement, and how do you keep the song moving along? Sometimes it's a little drum fill here, or sometimes it's a little synth stab, or a little riff, or a little vocal chops, or like whatever, so that it just keeps moving from place to place. And this track has all of that. Not 100% sure on the vocal. I saw some people talking about the pitching. I mean, I'm listening to it over the headphones in Discord. It's hard for me to tell exactly. I think style-wise might be a little bit off from where the label's at, but overall a really well-produced track with all the nice little details there that you're looking for.
Wicked. This has been fun, man.
Yeah.
I think what's coming. Let me just go back into interview mode. What's coming up for the label for the rest of the year, and what are you doing? What are you excited about apart from this week? You got released this week. What else is happening?
Yes. All right. So, well, as far as the label's going, we have the Late Night Disco remix package coming up. That's going to be out on Friday. Has a Vanilla Ace and Venky remix. Has my remix. Like I said, that was the biggest track of the year last year. Preston Zane, MC Flipside. MC Flipside's vocals are just amazing on the track, and both the original and the K-Mac remix did so well that this is the second track that we've picked out from the catalog to get a remix EP. So that'll be out in a week. And then in early December, we have a 2-track EP coming up from an up-and-comer out of California called AD. 2 new tracks, Do You Feel Me and Music. They're really good. He's already got some releases on some cool labels like Material and stuff like that. But definitely on the come up.
Mhm.
And then going into next year, we're gonna have some stuff from Casmalia, some more stuff from Martino and
Nice.
Alessandro Angeleri. We got a Calvin Pepper track that's going to have a DJ Ideal remix out of San Diego.
Nice.
Just signed another demo from someone new called Lefty or Right. One of the dudes from Buds, Smitty.
Mm.
I haven't even told him yet. I'm about to send him the email this morning that I'm going to sign one of his new demos. We have the label party is going to be coming up on Groove Cruise out of Miami. So the last one that we did out of Cabo was awesome, big success with the label parties, and we're going to be doing,
Mhm.
I think in February is going to be label party in San Diego. Also going to be bringing that to Toronto. So lots of cool stuff going on with the label.
That's cool.
Really, really excited about all that. Like I said, it's been my favorite creative project that I've done so far, just because it sort of like feels like an extension of me, but it's bigger than me. And
Mm.
it's been very cool to see all the artists on the label kind of like form like it kind of forms like a little community, and see people be really excited about it. I mean, like the coolest thing to me is when people that have signed to the label come back and keep sending me demos. Like, I want to keep working with you, right? Like that
Mm.
to me is like kind of like the ultimate sign of success.
That's
That
cool.
I'm doing something right, right? So yeah, really excited about all the stuff coming up with the label, and have releases. I did a remix for Julian Gray's Gradient Collective that's going to be coming out in February, and a couple other things here just on the Doc Brown tip that aren't for Unlearned that are going to be cool. So, and
That's
already
good.
starting to think about Winter Music Conference in Miami. So,
Oh
you
my
know,
days. Yeah, well,
yeah,
that thought popped into my head the other day, and I was like, "Oh, we've got to start there." If not thinking about that.
it's crazy. I mean, it just never ends, but it's awesome because obviously I love music and I love playing music and I really enjoy running the label. So it is a lot of work and it's a lot of stuff, but it's something I get excited to get up and do every day. So,
That
so yeah,
Miami period, that Winter Music Conference must be hectic for you.
it's very hectic. I feel honestly fortunate that I live here in Miami. I feel like it's been a huge boost and an awesome thing for my career because, to be perfectly honest, if I live somewhere else, especially outside the United States, to come here for that week is expensive, right? All the hotels are
Mm.
the most expensive that they are all year. Going to however many parts, I mean, it just adds up to be quite a bit. So the fact that I've been able to live here and be able to kind of network with all these, I mean, not just at Winter Music Conference time, where I'm lucky enough to live in Miami where all these big DJs and producers and stuff are coming through regularly, but Miami, everyone in the world is here, right? So, and it's at my
Mm.
fingertips. I consider myself very blessed to be able to have that to my advantage, you know.
That's cool. And
I'm
then
very much
Twitch just
looking
still
forward to it.
still streaming and still and for Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes, Wednesday nights, Friday mornings, and Sundays kind of like longer during the day, most of the day show. So
Amazing. Wicked.
yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this morning. This morning for you and this afternoon for us. This has been great fun. Thank
Yeah,
everyone that
thanks for
submitted their
having me. I
tracks.
think maybe we might find some tracks here that you might be seeing coming out on Unlearn sometime soon. So
Yay, wicked.
yeah, this has been cool.
I'm
I mean,
excited.
the quality of demos is honestly outstanding. There wasn't a single one of them that I listened to that was like, eesh, wow, you need to do some work. You know, like there wasn't a single one that was like that. Every single one of them was of a high quality. So it just speaks to the level of talent that's out there and the volume of music that's out there as well. So just got to work hard, keep grinding.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's been getting better and better. Like we do demo streams now every Monday. Like I said earlier. So if you didn't get your demos listed today, we're doing them every Monday. And they're just every Monday we listen to some, because we listen normally on a Monday we listen to across the genres. Like we want so it's kind of obviously for your label it's been specific for your label, but normally we're kind of like send it in, let's listen. We'll go across the genre. We go from drum and bass to dubstep to jungle to disco to whatever. Right? We've had some amazing tracks. We're like, whoa.
It's always a good reminder to yourself, even as a seasoned producer as well, that like you really got to be on your game and working really hard because there's so many great musicians out there. And as much as people want to complain about the fact that there's a glut of music out there because the barrier to entry is so low, which is true, the barrier to entry being low allows opportunities for artists that are phenomenal artists that might not have had the opportunity otherwise. So I think It's great. I think it's awesome. I would never complain about there being too much music to listen to. So,
No, me neither.
you know, like, so it's a good thing for everything, to be honest with you.
Agreed. Wicked. I'm going to get on the raid, and I will see you probably on a Friday.
Yeah.
Hopefully
All right.
Hopefully when either of us raid into each other.
Cool. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who sent in the demos. And like I said, I'll listen to all those ones in the Discord, even the ones we didn't get to, and I'll give a response out there to everyone who submitted one. So thanks for submitting those, and thanks for having me.
And I'll be premiering your track this week sometime this Wednesday, I think, on Data Transmission.
Late night disco. Let's go. Big release
Let's
day
go.
Friday. Yeah.
Cool. Doc Brown, I'll see you very soon. Thanks, mate. Thanks for doing this. See you soon.
Yep.
If you found this interview interesting, consider giving it a like and a comment. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, and let me know your biggest takeaway below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch. I'm back on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you can check out the schedule from the link below as well to see who's coming up in my interview series. I'll see you in the next Twitch stream or the next YouTube video. I'll see you soon. Bye.